Hi, this is Eddie Deason. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Chris Stolle at Breaking the Fourth Wall. Myself and Ray sit down with the host of Days of Comics Past podcast, Mike Neal, to discuss nerd culture, suicide hotlines, and, of course, what it takes to become a podcaster. Guys, enjoy this episode. We certainly did. Sit down. It is a long one, but it's a great, great ride. And without further ado, here's Mike Neal.
All right, so what do you guys discuss on the Star Wars podcast? Was it War of the Stars?
Yep, War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast.
So obviously you talk about Star Wars, but I mean, what are some of the topics you guys talked about?
We've actually talked about, well, I'm relatively new to the show, but before I joined on, I mean, they did stuff like, they did an entire series about the women of Star Wars, and they just kind of said, okay, today's episode is about Princess Leia Organa, and that's all they talked about. The whole episode was about her character and her development and things like that. More recently with me on the show, we've talked about the history and the origin of like the Sith Order, the Jedi Order. We've discussed Emperor Palpatine and kind of discussed his plot. And I try to throw out at the end of the show just this hypothetical question. Like the most recent one was how do they think the story would have gone if Qui-Gon Jinn had said, nope, Anakin's not the chosen one, and they left him right there on the planet. You know, and then everybody kind of discusses it. And
the thing is, it's War of the Stars is one of our longest running shows on Realm of the Mist, next to Breaking the Fourth Wall, actually. And it's always been a broad spectrum of Star Wars information. We would cover things from canon to legends, obviously speculations of the new movies or the new books or the new comics. And of course, fan theories and what ifs, and like Ray said, we started delving into the female characters and their impacts within the Star Wars universe, canon wise, and some non-canon like Mara Jade. And then when I stopped doing War of the Stars, because I used to be a co-host, I stopped doing it because I was just running too many things at once. And Mark took on Ray. They were just starting doing the men of Star Wars, and then it switched over to like what Ray was saying. But the easiest answer is War of the Stars always has been a hodgepodge of just Star Wars information and knowledge. Anything we can get our hands on to have a conversation about.
Right. And we always start the show with like the most recent news that's come out, you know, very recently. So we always discuss that at the very beginning.
Yeah, I remember reading an article, and it's probably been a few years ago, about how it was talking about how the Jedi Council was actually the bad guys and all of it.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit. We didn't do like a whole show about it, but we touched on it.
I saw something I hadn't read yet about the Empire being innocent.
Yeah.
But they always... things always, like movies and everything, always has stuff like that. Because, like, they had, like, Karate Kid, how like, Daniel was actually the bad guy the whole entire movie. And he was the one being... Yeah, it's crazy when you look at stuff like that from different perspectives. You know?
They're really not wrong, though. I mean, have you watched The Karate Kid? Yeah, okay, Johnny and them were bullying Daniel, but Daniel was usually the one who picked the fight.
Right.
It was. And when you start watching it, you're like, oh my God, they're right.
Yeah, like and then...
like,
They
It's the scene
capitalized
where, like,
on
Johnny
that.
is like Johnny's smoking in the bathroom, and then Daniel comes in there and puts the water hose over the bathroom stall. It's like, he didn't do anything to you. It's trippy when you think about that. Did you guys see where oh my god, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that have you guys watched Cobra Kai?
I
did
not.
Yeah, I did it, and that's where I was about to say, like, they capitalized on that fan theory in How I Met Your Mother, and because one of the characters in there honestly believed that, you know, Johnny was wronged, and he was the good guy, and Daniel was and so they actually got him to come onto How I Met Your Mother. It was a whole thing. I don't know if you saw it.
I know.
But yeah, it was a whole episode of him, you know, justifying how he was the good guy and all of that. But then fast forward a little while later, and now we've got Cobra Kai, and now it's almost like the tables have turned a little bit, and it's kind of cool. I liked Cobra Kai.
One of the first theories I ever heard about the Karate Kid was actually that Johnny should have won by default because the crane kick that Daniel used was actually an illegal strike to the face.
Yes.
yeah, most definitely.
Which in most karate competitions is a disqualifying offense.
Which would make sense. That would make perfect sense. But I can't talk more highly of Cobra Kai. I think it's an excellent show. I've loved it.
I've heard great things about it. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. And I have heard that they brought Ralph Macchio in, so they almost like re-brought up the feud between Daniel and Johnny in this now.
Oh yeah, big time.
But it plays out. The show plays out to where you really it makes it hard to pick a side and who you want to be. You know, I want to be on Johnny's side, or I want to be on Daniel's side. It's hard to pick a side.
Yeah, they did a good job with that. You can't. There's no black and white in this one. It's all gray.
Yeah, they took that theory and ran with it.
Those are some of the funnest ones, though. I mean, like, things like Star Wars, it's usually very black and white. You know, the good guys are the good guys and the bad guys are the bad guys in the story. But, you know, the shades of gray ones are the ones that are always the most fun. Because you sit there and you're like, well, okay, what that guy did there was wrong. However, he did it for this reason, which is good. And then the enemies of them, they're supposed to be the bad guys, but they're really trying to feed their village or, you know, whatever. Like, you can almost see both sides of the conversation.
Right.
Those are always the most fun.
Like when people started debating on whether Thanos was, you know, is Thanos a bad guy or is what he doing? Is he good?
Right.
I mean, I love that argument. When people started bringing that up, I'm like, you know what? They're right. You know, he thinks what he was doing was right.
Exactly. Yeah, he really did. And
which,
who's to say he wasn't?
Makes the movie better. I mean, but to me, that when you have an aspect like that in a movie, it makes it better. It does.
I've even heard fan theories of things like Star Trek, where the Federation are in a sense, a globalist fascist faction that is destroying cultures. You know how like how the Federation tries to recruit planets and systems into the Federation, creating one gigantic conglomerate. But in reality, what they're doing is erasing the cultures of all these other planets and forcing them into the guidelines and rules of the Federation. I've heard that fan theory. Argument.
Well, I mean,
you can almost see it too, you know.
There's supposed to be like this scientific exploration thing, but 9 times out of 10, they're getting into fights. Like, what the heck? What's up with that?
Yeah, a science vessel is not built for war. A scientific and exploration vessel is not built for war. I.e., look at the original Enterprise. I don't mean like the TV show. I mean Star Trek Enterprise. That ship was not equipped for what it did. But then you go into the Enterprise that we all know and love, like Kirk's or Picard's, and they were warships. They may have had a bar in them or something, but they were warships.
Well, I saw a thing on Facebook that had me cracking up yesterday. It was Kirk and Spock together. It was like one meme, and it was Kirk and Spock together, and it said, if we are boldly going where no one has gone before, how come we keep encountering people?
Right.
I was like, oh man, that's perfect. That's so true.
Really, it should just been called, especially the original series, should have just been called Trek porn. How many different alien species can I fuck? Because Kirk was banging all of them. Kirk was banging all of them.
Just to switch the subject up. Have you guys seen Joker yet?
No,
I have not.
I want to so bad.
I'm gonna say I actually went and seen it today, and it's pretty good. I was really impressed with it.
Do you think it deserves the hate that it's been getting? A lot of politicized views on it, or do you think that's just stretching because it's just a solid movie?
I don't think it deserves. First of all, the whole like, oh my God, we have to protect these theaters so nobody runs in there and shoots it up and stuff. No, but in my opinion, I wasn't thinking about this until somebody told me to think that.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I honestly wasn't. And I think they blew all that out of proportion. And I don't know if that was like a tactic or something. Maybe they're trying to do that to get people to want to go to the theaters. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, see, I have such a hard time with it as a concept because, I mean, a comic book movie like Joker, who, of course, you're giving an origin story to a bad guy, an iconic bad guy, no less. But even if and I heard there's not a whole lot of violence in this movie. It's really a profile pick than an action adventure comic book romp, from what I've heard.
It is that.
But I'm having a hard time seeing the difference between why this movie would send somebody into a rage to want to kill and murder somebody, and how things like, just off the top of my head, Fast and Furious wouldn't.
I guess it's because in the movie, he deals with just so much mentally, and I guess it's just the people around him, I guess. But honestly, I don't see it. Yeah, I really don't. Maybe somebody will see it and feel like this connection with it. Like maybe they were treated this way by people and just society. And then like, oh my God, this guy was treated like that. Well, I'm going to do what he did in the movie. I guess I could see that. But like you just said, that's like me going to the theaters and seeing a Fast and Furious movie. And you're like, oh, well, when I leave, I'm going to drive 120 miles an hour home and try to race somebody. It's just, you're going to take what you're going to take from it.
Look, the only movie that ever made me want to go in and like shoot up a theater, and I'm joking, by the way, don't actually go out and do this, people. But the only movie that ever made me murderous was fucking Twilight. You're like, you motherfuckers are the reason this even exists. God damn you.
I don't know. When I seen the Crystal Skull, I felt pretty fucked up after that. So, that was, oh my God, they ruined Indiana Jones with that. And you know what? I bought it. I've watched it a couple times after that just because it's Indiana Jones. And every time when I see that alien, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys did this.
Well, you know what? We could talk about that because I have a more forgiving attitude towards Crystal Skull. Yes, it was the worst Indiana Jones movie ever fucking made. I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, the alien aspect of it didn't bother me because, I mean, we had mystical powers and fucking the cup of Christ and the dust of the Ark of the Covenant melted Nazis. I mean, Indiana Jones has always been far-fetched. Hell, Temple of Doom, we have a guy chanting and ripping people's hearts out and watching it burst into flame. Like, the supernatural and the way out there has always been Indiana Jones, so that storyline didn't bother me. What bothered me was things like Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
He ruined
Jesus,
the movie
yeah.
for me.
It was Shia LaBeouf, but it was seeing the alien that ruined it for me. I didn't have to see it. You know what I'm saying? When they opened the Ark, you didn't see anything. Yeah, that mystery was still there. But when I seen the alien, I was like, oh, nah, that was not cool.
But, I can get behind that. Yeah, like if they would have just, explained that the skull was an alien skull and that the Aztec worshipped this spaceship or something like that, and you just saw the ruins of it, I think that might have been better than bringing the aliens back to life because you brought them their skull. I can get behind that. Yeah.
And you're exactly right. I mean, it fits the period, the time. That was the period where, like, Area 51 had just kind of, I assumed that had just become a thing, and aliens was a big thing during that time period.
Yeah, that's
and it was kind of newly introduced then during that period of time. So I mean, it does fit it, perfect. It's just like, man, I didn't have to see the aliens.
Right.
Yeah. But and also Shia LaBeouf was horrible. Shia LaBeouf was horrible.
Yeah, cause
like how you just kind of tack that on the end there.
Well, the thing is there is a lot of redeeming qualities of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. You get to reunite Miriam and Indy, which you hadn't seen since Raiders of the Lost Ark. That is a wonderful thing. And then the little bickering between each other and everything. That was awesome. And John Hurt playing the role of like the mentor who gone a little cuckoo because of the skull. He was wonderful in it. And even Cate Blanchett, even though her Russian accent was a little off, her character was pretty interesting, So there was a lot of redeeming qualities to Crystal Skull. It was just ruined by some terrible acting by Shia LaBeouf, and like you said, the bringing the aliens to life instead of just realizing that, oh my God, the skulls were created or are the aliens, and leaving it at that.
Yes. And like I said, when they come out, I went and bought it and I watched it. I probably watched it 10 or 20 times. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's Indiana Jones. The adventure's still there. I mean, the heart of it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what do you think about them doing another one?
As long as Shia LaBeouf is not in there, like we retcon and completely forget that Indy has a kid named Mud. I'm fine with it. Like, let him pass it on. Like, I heard rumors that he's supposed to pass it on to some female character now, whether it's his daughter or just somebody who followed his career or something. I'm fine with it. Just do it right.
Now, what did you think about Blade Runner 2049?
Never watched it because I wasn't ever into the first Blade Runner.
Wow. And see, it caught Blade Runner by itself catches a lot of shit, in my opinion, because people look at it and a whole lot of people that I've talked to that is like I've never watched it, or I started watching it, I thought it was boring. It's a detective movie that's set in this fantasy time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. People expect it to be these action-packed movies, and that's not what they are. And I think a lot of people just, if you look at it, I mean, you look at the trailers for the movies, they look like these action-packed movies, but that's not what they're about. They're detective movies.
Well,
yeah, I mean, that's what Blade Runner was in the first place, trying to find the cyborgs,
Hey, look, sometimes you do great things with coming back to a great idea, and I would never say that Blade Runner wasn't a good movie. I found it boring to watch. I think the concept was cool. I didn't get into it. It's no fault but my own that I didn't get into it. You know what I mean? But sometimes revisiting like the Blade Runner 2049, I've heard mixed reviews about it. Again, I can't speak on it because I didn't watch it. But I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is Independence Day Resurgence.
Oh, and
sometimes you just shouldn't revisit so far away from. Independence Day was a wonderful film.
I never even gave that a chance.
I did. I tried. I really did. And again, I can make an argument like Crystal Skull where there was some things that were very redeemable in it. But for the most part, it was fan service gone wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what happens when they try to just make a movie solely to appease fans and make revenue. That's what happens right there.
But let's look at an opposite coin, and it's perfect to talk about now since we're in a sci-fi mood anyway. We're coming up on the 40th anniversary of it. Let's talk about fucking Alien, and of course the new trilogy, or at least supposed to be trilogy, that explains the backstory of the aliens. You know, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and then the new one that's supposed to eventually I believe it was originally supposed to be titled Alien Awakening.
I never heard a title for it.
That was the last I heard. I could be wrong, and in the comments section, if I am, let me know. Maybe that was Covenant's original name or something. I don't know, but I have heard the title Alien Awakening, and I think that's supposed to be the third film. Whether it's ever going to get made or not, I hope it does. But that's an argument.
I love those films.
That's an argument, a debate we can get into. Is a lot of people hated Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Granted, a lot of people hated Alien Resurrection and Alien 3, but they feel that it fucked with the mythos, which I don't know how the creator of the whole entire franchise could fuck up the mythos. But Ridley Scott created this shit, people.
Yeah, fans will always find a way. Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The prequels, they will always find a way. Yeah. But I love all those movies. I loved all of them. Alien 3 started bad just because it killed Newt at the beginning of it. I'm like, no, why did you do that? At the very beginning. But it's hard to come on. It's hard to come off of Aliens and create anything after that, and people are not going to look back at Aliens and say, yeah, well, this movie isn't Aliens.
Well, see, I'll be the first one to admit, like, Alien 3, yeah, it was a little depressing and dark. So, of course, a lot of people are going to have an issue with it. And one of the things I always debunk about Alien 3 is, you know, people are like, well, the alien was weird. Of course it was weird. If you haven't noticed, the alien takes on the characteristics and traits of whatever was the host when the facehugger impregnated it. Right? So in Alien 1 and Aliens, it was humans. So the aliens had very human movements. Right?
Yeah.
Alien 3 was a fucking dog. It acted like a dog. And that's why it walked on all fours. That's why it hunched and attacked the way it did, because it had characteristics of its host. You know?
Yeah.
It
completely makes sense.
That was even explained in Alien versus Predator, which, quite honestly, that's where I would agree with most people. Like, okay, you're just cash cowing and fucking up. But, you know, the face hugger and the chest burster that busted out of the Predator, and now you have a Pred alien. That thing was fucking scary in a really shit movie.
Yes.
You know, but
now, see, I remember the first Alien versus Predator, but the second one, I don't remember it all. I remember watching it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I don't remember anything. And I thought about this the other day. I was like, I cannot even tell you what that movie was about. I remember the first one. And, I mean, the first one wasn't great, but it was okay. But I remember the second one. I don't remember it at all. But I do remember watching it.
I remember it took place in Colorado, and I was living in Colorado at the time that it was filmed. You know, but it was a very forgettable movie. It really was. Like at least the first one served kind of a purpose of, you know, trying to say that this shit's been going on for years and we were being used as a hunting ground for the predators.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of a neat story, but obviously all that got retconned with Prometheus and Alien Covenant, where you learned it was us that even created the species. Well, David, but I mean, you know,
I love the fact that they used David like that. I mean, I don't know. I love them. I mean, I just, if you're a fan of Aliens, I can't see how you can't love these movies and how deep it's going into it and the story it's telling.
Yeah.
I think it, a lot of people think it fucks with the mythos, but I think it explains it a whole lot more. It explains why Weyland-Yutani wants this creature and how they even knew about it, because technically they were responsible for its creation.
Yes.
It was Weyland who created David, and David created the xenomorph and the facehugger. So it really, they're not searching for a hostile creature to use as a military agent. They're looking for their product and property that they created, invented. It makes sense.
It's great storytelling.
Yeah.
It is. That's why I can't see how people, they hate on it. I've heard people talk about like Prometheus and say like they didn't. Oh well, the alien looked weird. I can't see it. I don't know. I don't like the way the aliens look. I was like, well, it's a prequel. It has to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you hit Covenant, and then you actually had the alien there. And I heard people like, oh, well, it's not like the other movies.
Well, that's why Ridley Scott had stated it's not the xenomorph. Even in Alien Covenant, it's not the xeno. It has not reached its perfection stage yet. It was, what did they call it? A protomorph? I think it's what they called.
It was something more.
Yeah. So it wasn't even the fully evolved version of the alien that we know from 1979 or on through. Quite honestly, the only alien in the whole entire franchise I didn't like was Baby in Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
The birthed alien, that one looked puppety to me. But beyond that, I've never had an issue with any of the evolutions of the xenomorph or face huggers or chest bursters. As long as it was gory and gooey and H.R. Geigery, no issue. You know what I mean? And I think thus far has been. I mean, come on. In Prometheus, you had a black goose sperm become a creature that was cut out of what's-her-face's stomach. You can't get any more fucking H.R. Geiger than that.
Yeah.
That thing gave me nightmares. I'm a grown-ass man. Like that, you know what? That serves a I'm going to start showing that to my teenage son when he starts discovering himself. I'm going to show him that. He's like, that's what you're shooting into women. Knock it off.
Yeah. You see that? You see that? You're shooting it off in those tissues too, so make sure you throw them away.
Going to kill your mother every time she does her laundry and your socks are standing up.
Your mama has to sit on that toilet seat, right?
Oh, jeez.
Thank you, Ridley Scott. You're giving me birth control for my children.
Man, well, like, because you talked about Aliens versus Predator, did you watch that last Predator movie that came out?
No, but I've never been much of a Predator fan. I know a lot of people are hellaciously in love with it, but to me it was always a corny substitute for Alien.
Well, the last one that came out is hands down probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I didn't even finish it.
In a world where Napoleon Dynamite, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and Juno exists, and you turn around and say it's probably one of the worst movies ever, that says a lot.
I'm telling you, I could not finish it. I could not. And the thing about it is the one that came out before that, I think it was called Predators. And I think that it was supposed to be set up like a sequel to the actual first Predator movie.
Right.
And it's like, I can't remember how like these people get on this planet, but when they get on the planet, they figure out that it's inhabited with these predators, and they're hunting them. And it's actually a really good movie. I thought it was just really, really done really good. And then I watched this one that come out. And I can't even follow it. I mean, the only reason I got it was because Target had some special going on, and it was $10 on Blu-ray. So I was like, man, it had been out for maybe a couple months. I was like, man, it's a sign. I must need to watch this movie. And I went, got it, and it was absolutely horrible. I mean,
well, come on.
Straight to bargain bin.
You can't knock the bargain bins. Again, I will defend this to every dying day, and I know it's a horrible fucking movie. Okay, it's a horrible movie based on a great book, but I still will sit down and love and enjoy watching it, and that's fucking Battlefield Earth. I revel in its campiness. I revel in its cheesiness. I don't care.
I think I watched that. I think I watched it a long time ago, but I don't remember very much about it.
You know, I'm the same way with Wing Commander. I don't care that it's fucking horrible. It's based on a great video game, and I can enjoy it for what it is. It's one of those movies where it's like, the best way I can describe Battlefield Earth and Wing Commander, the best way I can describe it, it's one of those movies where you could just shut your brain off and enjoy it. You know?
Yeah.
If you try to analyze it and especially try to compare it to its source material, yeah, you're going to be disappointed. But if you just shut your brain off and let yourself enjoy a popcorn flick, that's exactly what they are.
Nice.
I'll tell you right now, like me and a guy I knew was having a conversation the other day about Mortal Kombat and how they're coming out with the new movie. And he was like, yeah, man, the first movie was pretty good, but that second movie was horrible. And I was like, look, you know what? When that came out, I was a kid. I wanted that movie. I wanted both of them. And I'll tell you right now, they're not good movies. But
no, they're not.
I wanted those movies really bad, and they gave it to me, and I loved every bit of it.
You know what? I would say Mortal Kombat 1 was better than Mortal Kombat 2 for one simple reason. The actress who played fucking Sonya Blade was hotter.
Yeah, yes, she was. Very much so. Yeah, the second one would have probably been better if they could have got a lot of the cast back, but they didn't. Half the cast is different.
Right.
It's hard to explain that. There was no explaining. They just had different people playing the characters.
Right.
But I don't care what anybody says. I love those movies.
I will sit down and watch the fucking Raul Julia and Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter. I don't care.
And that coming to time that I wanted that, dude. I will still watch the Super Mario movie.
Oh,
yes.
I don't care what everybody says about that. I will still watch that, and I know it's horrible.
Yeah,
we ain't going broke, Mario. We already there.
Name Mario. Last name Mario.
So wait, how many Marios are there? Well, there's 3. Mario, and Luigi Mario.
Great fucking movie. I don't care what anybody says. That's a great movie.
It really is.
But you know what? I love these types of films. I love, low budget films. I love high budget films that failed sometimes, Like, I'm not talking about something like The Room. That's just garbage. But to me, there's a difference between garbage.
Hold on now. The Room is absolutely hilarious.
You've watched it? Oh.
It is absolutely hilarious. I was in tears watching that movie.
I can't get past dude's acting. To me, it was
That's what's hilarious about it.
To me, it was a bad impression of fucking Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade. Like if Sling Blade and Napoleon Dynamite had a baby, that's the actor in The Room. It's just horrible.
I'm not gonna lie. I watched The Disaster Artist before I actually watched The Room. And
right.
If you watch The Disaster Artist, you're like, man, there is no way that this dude did this. And I watched it. I'm like, and James Franco nails that dude too. He does a great job of it. And you watch the actual movie, you're like, man, this dude really did this. And I cannot believe he did this. And it plays like once a month in LA or something like that. It's still played like on a regular, and when they do it, the theaters are packed out. People love it. It's because it's that fucking horrible.
I love it.
Yeah, but
that's perfect.
Well, we've been sitting here for a good half an hour just bullshitting about films and sci-fi. let me go ahead and ask you, is that what you normally talk about on your podcasts? Like, why don't you tell us a little bit about your show?
All right, so I have the Days of Comics Past podcast, and it's kind of evolved into something that different than we started off with. What the idea was to start off with was we were gonna, just at the beginning of the show discuss like some comic book, pop culture, TV, movie stuff, like news, and then finish off with a comic book. And me and the guy I do the podcast with, Caleb Eugene, would read a comic, and then we sit down and do like a review and walkthrough of the comic. But it's kind of evolved into basically just us sitting and talking like we're talking now.
Right.
And then just mentioning a comic at the end, maybe something that we've been reading lately. I tried to utilize Marvel Unlimited and later on DC Universe and use that to read the comics, because I could just text him like, hey man, let's read this comic this week, which to me was a great idea. But it just, I don't know, I just didn't like it after a while. But just the us reading it and doing a walkthrough and a review of it, because not everybody reads comic books.
Right.
So I wanted to try to reach out and grab a broader audience. So we still include the comic book stuff, but we kind of cut it back a whole lot. So, and I mean, dude, I will get on a rant about just random stuff sometimes. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I think the last episode that we did, or one of the last episodes, I was like, man, you know what? This Lady in the Tramp movie, I'm excited about it, but if they really want to blow me away, they're going to give me a sex scene. I'm grown. I want to see a sex scene. And they ain't even got to show penetration or anything. They can just, like, once they start getting at it, they can pan up to the moon or something and just let me know, hey, they're doing it, man.
A Cocker Spaniel and a mongrel go at it, and all you see is a jar of peanut butter.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is stuff I want to see. But I won't get it. But you want to blow me away? You want to impress me? Give me that sex scene. It's only gonna be like a couple seconds. Hey, I think that the Disney's become pretty progressive over the years. I think we can handle this.
All I'm envisioning is Clerks 2 and the argument about Lord of the Rings, and if Peter Jackson really wanted to impress me with them Hobbit movies, that ending scene, he would have ended it at the ending scene where Sam gave Frodo that gay fucking look, and right at the end of it, he just goes to Sucktown on Frodo, and all of a sudden he just straight up bricks in Moto's mouth.
Sam's mouth.
Credits. That's all that's running through my head as you're talking about a sex scene between two dogs.
But it's funny you brought that up, because like literally the whole reason I started or wanted to do a podcast was because of Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
Oh wow.
That's the whole reason I decided to do one, man. There's an episode, and I can't tell you the episode, but there's an episode of Jay and Silent Bob Gets Old. And mind you, Kevin goes on these. Kevin loves to talk. Kevin Smith, Kevin Smith loves to fucking talk. And he goes on these rants sometimes, or not really rants, but he goes on these spills where he's just telling people like, hey man, get out here, create something. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know who might like it, unless you do it. And he was doing an episode of Jay and Silent Bob Gets Old, and somebody I think had asked him a question, and he was telling them like, go out in this world, do what you want to do, create something, chase your muse. And then he's like, well, no, don't chase my muse. He's right here. You leave my muse alone. You chase your own muse. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. So that's where it all started from.
See, I'm not too dissimilar. Breaking the Fourth Wall, which launched Realm of the Mist Entertainment, this show that we're on right now. Well, on my end, on your end, obviously a completely different show. But
yeah.
On my end, it was launched because I started discovering Collider videos. Their movie talks and their Jedi Council and stuff, and I'm like, fuck, I could do that. you know, but it's the Kevin Smith connection. One of our shows called After Hours was born because of Hollywood Babylon.
Okay, yeah,
Ralph Garman and Kevin Smith just sitting there talking about random shit, and I'm like, well, fuck, we could do that. Yeah.
And I mean, another thing that really impressed me with like Kevin is, you know, he's got Smodcast that he does with Scott Mosier, and they did an episode where they're just talking about this Walrus movie. And they're like, oh, yeah, we should make this movie. And they just sit there and do, like, the entire script of this movie on this podcast. And at the end of it, they're like, hey, go on social media. We'll do hashtag Walrus yes or hashtag Walrus no. And then they got this huge response of people doing hashtag Walrus yes. Ended up, the movie, they make the damn movie.
Yep, Tusk.
And it's Tusk. Yeah, and it's just like, man, this is so crazy that they were able to do that. Yeah, and that was at a point of his career that he wasn't doing anything.
I'll tell you.
You know, he wasn't really doing much, and it just blossomed out of that. And a lot of people do not like Tusk. If Kevin Smith, you know, polished up a turd and sat in front of me and said, you need to like this, I'll go, yes, Kevin, I like this. I love it. Yeah, that's how I am. No, when it comes to him.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, with SJ Promotions right now, which we could talk about, because that's pretty much how we all got interconnected with each other.
Yes.
I would love, if I could have two dream people to sit down and do a Breaking the Fourth Wall interview with, and it would probably be the easiest interviews on the planet. It would be Kevin Smith and also Mark Hamill, because either one of them, you ask them one question and you just let them go. You just shut your mic off and let them talk.
Oh God, yes. Hey, now they actually they did an episode or two together on it's Fat Man Beyond now, but it was Fat Man on Batman before.
Right, with Mark Bernard.
And yeah, but see, Kevin Smith started off doing that by himself,
right?
And he would have people on. And there's like, I think it's a 2-part episode with Mark Hamill in it. It's amazing. It is awesome.
But you see it. So, even Kevin shuts up and just lets Mark talk. And that's weird for Kevin.
Yes. And this is, I love Kevin so much. Like, did you guys see him on, oh my God, I can't remember the Late Show now. He overshadows the person's Late Show. It was, Colbert. He was on Colbert the other night, and
nice.
He was advertising Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and he goes on there and like the almost the entire time he's on there, he's telling a story about going and meeting his daughter's boyfriend for the first time, and it's hilarious. It's like he's not like talking about anything. He talks about what he wants to talk about when he does. He is such a trip.
I had the distinct advantage talking about Kevin Smith, or not the advantage, the distinct pleasure, thanks to SJ Promotions and all, to sit down and do an interview with Marilyn Gigliani, Veronica from Clerks
awesome.
1. That was absolutely wonderful. Just hearing her memories of like doing that film, and you know, her interactions with like Kevin and Jeff Anderson and you know, Jason and all the cast members, Brian O'Halloran. And you know, Kevin Smith really is a testament to follow your dreams. Like I put him in the same leagues as somebody like George Lucas, or even, you know, this is going to be way out there, but somebody like Insane Clown Posse. People who were told you can't do this, and they're like, fuck you, we'll do it anyway. And they wound up becoming a major success doing it their way.
Yep.
You know, so absolutely. I love Kevin Smith. I love what Kevin Smith represents to people who may have a dream but may not have the same aspiration, or not aspirations, the same connections that others might. Just go fucking do it. You never know. The only way you're going to know it'll fail is if you never try.
And I'll tell you, like, he is just a great human being. I really cannot talk more highly about him. Like the other day, I sent a post that he put on Twitter and it was a bunch of pictures of him and fans that they walked up to him and said, "Oh my God, can we take a picture?" And like, "Oh my God, I ain't got no phone or nothing." He's like, "Don't worry, I got one. I'll take a picture. I'll send it to you." And he waited till he had like 9 or 10 of them, and then he posted them all at one time on his Twitter. Him and the people that didn't have a phone or something when they met him.
Which is weird. Who doesn't have a phone nowadays? Shit,
yeah,
my 10-year-old daughter has a phone.
Yeah, I can only imagine it probably had to take him a while to get these pictures. There was a story that him and his wife was telling on a podcast one time about how, like, they were at a hotel and they were out on the road. He was like, "I got to have people watch me because I'll do stupid shit." So, like, I'm downstairs and I'm outside the lobby and I meet this guy. I start talking to him, and the guy's like, "Man, yeah, I'm coming down on my luck, man. I just need a ride." He's like, "Well, we got a car. We'll give you a ride. Don't worry about it." And he's like, his wife walks out there. He's like, "Hey, can we give this guy a ride?" I'm like, no, we cannot give this guy a ride. We have to go. Why are you doing that?
Oh shit. Well, I definitely want to stay on track here a minute. I want to get as much information about you and your show as possible. You've been doing this for over a year, but you said to me before that you were talking about launching a new show.
Yeah, like you said, I've gotten hooked up with S&J Promotions, and they are tremendously helping me. Well, they're amazing. You guys already know. And they're helping me get interviews. And I've decided to start a second podcast. It's actually called Muse Chasers, where I sit down and I interview people and talk about them and their lives and their careers and how they got to where they're at. And it's been amazing so far. So I've actually been reaching out to some people myself, trying to get people on the show too, which is not easy. So,
no, it is not.
Which gave me a whole new respect for Steve, because it is not. I've probably reached out to probably 50 people, and I've gotten one. It is not an easy job.
I'll sing you a couple. I'll sing you a couple. Not the ones I didn't get from SJ Promotions, although we've been getting a lot from SJ Promotions. I still had a couple from beforehand. People like Mike Quinn, 9nub from Star Wars. I could talk to him.
Oh yeah, man, that'd be awesome.
You know, he's done it for me before. And hell, I could sing you pro wrestlers, independent circuit, and mainstream. I know some people, so we'll get you out there. Hell, Ray and I will more than happily come on if you just want to talk to some loser podcasters.
Oh yeah, because I want to get anybody that's because anybody that's going out and trying to do something, you know, and trying to, because this, like, dude, I literally at one point in my life thought I was going to be a rapper, and that was in my head, and it's not. It was a horrible dream, but I had it though. You know, I had it. I clinged on to it for a while. That was like podcasting. I can do podcasting. I may not be great at it, and like I've said this a billion times, like, hey, what podcasting is a blank canvas that you paint a picture on. Now, you look at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's painting Picassos, and I'm over here drawing stick figures, but I'm doing it, and I'm happy with it. And it makes me happy, and that's why I'm doing it, because I get the joy off of it. And some people try to jump into podcasts and try to make money and everything, and I'm not about that, because, number one, it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's extremely hard to make money off of podcasting. When you do, it's not going to be a whole lot. I mean, in all actuality, to me, if I could just make enough money to cover my cost of doing it, I would be happy.
No, absolutely.
But it doesn't. But I mean, to me, it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I'm fine putting a little bit of money into it and not getting anything back other than the joy of doing it.
Well, see, you bring up a great point, and it's something that a lot of people, like aspiring podcasters who listen to the shows, a lot of people look at people like Joe Rogan or Kevin Smith or Collider as examples where this is their day job because they had that much success with their shows. And, you know, what power to them, but all of us, 9 times out of 10, we have 9 to 5s. Like, I'm a fence installer. I don't know what you do, you know, but I'm a fence installer.
I'm a maintenance tech.
You're a maintenance what?
a maintenance technician,
Okay.
and I work at night, and it makes it tremendously hard to be able to do these interviews and stuff, because a lot of these people are all over the U.S. and different time zones and stuff, and I have to, I have kids, I have to deal with kids during the day, get them to school, get them back home, do homework, get them fed, get them bathed, get them ready for bed. And all this time I have to get a nap in, so I got to work at night. So it's not easy.
That's exactly it. But the thing that a lot of people should take from this is that if you're going to do this, first off, it's a great community. I've met so many great people from other podcasts. Our friends from WPS podcasts, our friends from Think to the Brink, our friends from Star Wars Canon podcast. Like, I've met a lot of great people that not only helped promote my show, but I more than happily promote any of their shows. You know what I mean? Because, it's just, we're all there to help each other out. But the big thing is you don't get into podcasting for money. You get into podcasting because you want to podcast. You want to have conversations with people or share your passions and connect with other people that get the same passion as you do. But if you try to get into this business just for the sole sake of money, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be sorely disappointed.
Yes, and I'll tell you something else just to go along with that is that because I've had people come up to me and be like, because I'll go to like bars and stuff or whatever, which doesn't happen very often.
Right.
At all nowadays. But like I went, the other day I went to a bar and I seen a couple people and I was like, hey man, do you listen to podcasts? and I tell them about it and what I do. And I've had some people say to me, man, I thought about doing a podcast before. And my first question, when somebody says like, I thought about doing a podcast, man, that's something I really like to do. I go, well, what podcast do you listen to? And if somebody goes, well, I don't really listen to them a whole lot, then I say, well, that's your first issue. Because no artist ever drew a picture without being a fan of art.
Right.
No musicians ever played a song without being a fan of somebody that made music. So I'm like, if you don't listen to podcasts and you're not a huge podcasting fan, I don't see how you're going to succeed at doing a podcast.
No, you're absolutely
very
right.
True.
And again, I heard the excuses. Well, I can't afford the equipment and everything else. Again, when I first started breaking the fourth wall with that launched Realm of the Mist Entertainment, I started with my cell phone and a digital recorder. And I set the digital recorder next to my microphone so I could have a conversation with a couple buddies of mine over the phone. And then I would upload it onto YouTube. Using a free app that I found on my phone called WeVideo to create the little video effects. It cost me nothing. It was not the greatest quality, but I mean, it's where I started. And now we do a whole lot better quality because I've found other programs and other abilities to do what we do. But I mean, really the only thing stopping somebody from doing a podcast is yourself. I've seen podcasts about yarn knitting. I've seen podcasts about collecting tie beanie babies. Whatever you're passionate about, talk about it. There's nothing stopping you but you. It doesn't cost anything to start a podcast. It costs if you want to be serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, nothing stops you from doing it but you.
Yeah, I mean, when we started doing ours, because I would suggest if you're going to start one, start it with what you have. If you have a phone, start it with your phone. If you have a little bit of money to toss around, what I did was I went and bought an actual audio recorder.
Right.
And it was just a handheld audio recorder, and I just set it between me and my buddy, and that's how we started doing it. And the reason I went that route was because the audio was a little better. It's not great, but it was a little better than using a cell phone. So I spent I think $50 or $60 on this Tascam audio recorder, the handheld recorder. And man, I think we did the first probably 20 episodes that way. And then I was like, okay, now I know I want to do this. I got somebody that's doing it with me. We can't always stay consistent, but I'm loving doing it. So then that's when I put the money into the equipment that I have. And then when you do it, you want to do it with a minimum amount of equipment. You don't need like I see all these people, they want all these mixing boards and all this stuff, but there's ways around that. You don't have to have all that.
Exactly.
So there's ways to get around it. You know, you can get really great audio with a minimum equipment. You just have to you just have to go research it and see what fits you and what you're trying to do.
That's exactly it. It's like you get what you put into it. When you decide you're serious enough, definitely get yourself a webcam if you do a video podcast. A microphone is your best friend. Of course, you want to buy at least like I use a Blue Snowball for my microphone. But I mean, I know people that use high quality and recording mics, and the Snowball, I mean, it was a gift to me, but I know it's like a $50, $60 mic. You know, it's not that expensive to use, and of course, like we described,
it's a great microphone.
It is, and as I described to you off air, I'm not going to bother doing it on air. Let people discover it the same way I did. There are programs that you can get on the computer for your recording and editing that cost little to nothing to use, and you could start really building your quality just on them.
And there's even programs you can download. There's apps you can get on your phone. Yeah, I've been trying, like, I've been making these videos, like I was telling you earlier, and that would go along with just audio and just give you a little bit of visual so I can start posting these things on YouTube. I'm doing it on my phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm doing it when I'm at work and I have a break. I'm sitting there messing with this and cutting all this thing up and making it look as fancy as I can do it. And I mean, this is something that you can do some of it with your phone. I mean, it's if you want to do it, you have nothing holding you back, honestly.
That's it. Just the time and the desire. That's all you need. Everything else can come with the time, or you could stay right where you are with it. It doesn't matter. What matters is you get your content out there for an audience to hear.
Exactly. And then everything will fall into place eventually. And hey, if you want to purchase equipment, you can do a little piece here. Just get a bike and get a mic this month, and maybe a couple months from now, get another mic if you need it. Mm-hmm. It's not something you have to rush into. I think people feel like they have to rush into it. They have to have all this equipment, but you don't. Like you said, you can start off with your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I started off with that audio recorder and used it for more episodes than we have with the actual better equipment that I have now. And
dang.
So I love. I'm gonna tell you, podcasting gives you a feeling of when you create something, you feel better about yourself. Creativity breeds happiness.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I mean, the one thing that everybody has is a voice, and everybody has something they want to talk about, even if it's Ty Beanie Babies, like you said, or knitting. And there's somebody else that wants to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. Somebody somewhere shares that passion.
Yeah, it was the guy I was talking to at work the other day. He was telling me, he's like, man, I'd really like to get into, like, forging. Like knives and swords and stuff. I was like, man, that'd be pretty cool. He's like, I really don't know how to do it. And I was like, well, you can look it up on YouTube, and I am sure there is. I bet there's a podcast for it. He's like, you think so?
There is no shortage of videos because that's where I learned how to do it. And let me tell you, that is not an easy hobby.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I can only imagine.
I only did it intermittently for like 2 years, and then I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. It's ran its course. It's not fun anymore.
Hey, look, not all of us are like Ray, where a podcast falls in your lap,
right? Oh,
No,
it's all coming out now.
No, I make that joke because another person that works with us is who introduced me to Ray to do the Dungeons and Dragons show that we do, Chronicles of the Lost Realm, and Ray's a DM. You know, he runs Dungeons and Dragons games.
The DM's a dungeon master.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I don't know much about the D&D stuff, man. I never got into it.
So the joke is that Ray started out as a dungeon master for an idea to do a tabletop show about Dungeons and Dragons, playing the game, and in turn he wound up becoming a co-host of War of the Stars, to being one of the main hosts of Breaking the Fourth Wall, and now he's basically a partner of the damn company with an offshoot channel called Sounds Dicey, and it all was just simply because, hey, you want to run a game?
Yep. Yep. It all unfolded from there.
So not everybody it falls in your lap, but I mean, again, Ray chased a passion of his, which was he likes playing Dungeons and Dragons. And that launched him to doing how many interviews in a week?
Oh man, I like 5, 6, sometimes 3 a day. It all depends on Steve.
And let's put it this way. I think the only person that's more excited about his podcasting career than him is his wife. I mean, she turned around and was like, "Oh yeah, you got to do this." Winds up and buys him a whole entire mic system setup, because you got to sound professional if you're going to do this. You're going to do it right.
Exactly. Yeah,
You're screwing this up. Let me help you. Damn.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's how it went down. She's like, "Well, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it professionally." And she orders me a microphone, and then she says, "Turn my walk-in closet into a soundproof room. Get in there." All right.
Damn, your wife put you in the closet.
Yeah.
And don't you come out either.
Don't you come out until we're rich.
Holy shit!
But let me ask you guys a question, because I like the D&D thing, man.
All right.
Is that gotten bigger over the last couple of years? Because I swear, man, that it seems to me that more people play D&D than they ever have.
I think I'll let Ray answer this, but just real quick, I definitely think it's gone more mainstream than it ever has been before. It used to be a lot more underground in my memory. Like when I played it, I used to be a closet Dungeons and Dragons player. Like I would tell my friends I was going out on a date on a Friday night just to be able to go hang out with my D&D friends and not have my normal friends think I was some nerd, or something like that. But nowadays, they're like, you type in Dungeons and Dragons on YouTube and you can find a whole bunch of people not only playing but broadcasting it, just like we are with Chronicles. But I'll let Ray dig deeper into that because it's more his world than mine.
Well, it's actually kind of a twofold thing. You're definitely right. It was definitely underground, and everybody was kind of like, "Oh, I can't let people know that I'm playing D&D, or else I'm a nerd, and I'll be ostracized." And that's just, I don't want that. And so everybody played in secret. And then as of late, it really jumped out into pop culture. You've got Stranger Things. The kids are playing it in there. You've got celebrities coming out saying that, "Oh yeah, I'm a D&D player," and all of a sudden it was, okay, now I don't have to hide to play anymore. So you got that going. And then with all the celebrities doing it, and it's just recurring in pop culture and things like that, people are seeing that and saying, "Oh, that actually looks kind of fun. I might try that." So it was kind of a double whammy for Dungeons and Dragons, and it really has just exploded since that happened. So you're absolutely right. The past couple of years, it's definitely gained momentum and popularity for sure.
Well, I would say this. I would go so far as to say this much too. I think a part of it is the modern society can see Dungeons and Dragons for what it is. Like you think back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where it was considered like devil worshipping and all that. But in reality, it was a lot of mathematics and a lot of study. You using the books as reference points to be able to do the game and do the game right. So, I mean, that in its own right helped with people's study habits for schooling and beyond. That's why so many successful people have come out and said, yeah, I used to play D&D, you know, probably helped them with memorization and research and, you know, like I said, mathematics and everything else. But nowadays, people are realizing, unlike things like video games or film, it is unlimited inclusivity. It doesn't matter in the Dungeons & Dragons world what you are or what you play. You could, whatever you can imagine, you could be in that game and without judgment, you know, and I think that's something that appeals to a lot of people, especially in this current day and age where, you know, regardless of which side of the political coin you sit on or what you think about, like, for the sake of argument, like LGBTQ politics or Republican or liberal politics or whatever, all that shit doesn't matter when you sit down at a table playing Dungeons and Dragons, because all of it is accepted and all of it can be incorporated into the story in some way, shape, or form and be accepted.
Yeah. I mean, nerd culture is a huge thing these days. Everybody's getting on board with it.
Yeah, I like I said, I never played D&D, and I got into I love Magic, and it just and probably for, I would say, about 2 years, I was heavy into it, playing standard and everything, and tournaments and everything.
Right.
Oh wow.
It costs so much, and I just can't justify putting that much money into it. I mean,
yeah,
with D&D. It's not that much money involved, is it? Once you get all your material.
Oh, there's still a lot of money involved, but luckily in this you know, technical superhighway day and age, there's ways around it, you know. But there are people who will buy sets upon sets upon sets upon sets of dice. There are people who believe that there's only so many good rolls in a D20, and once those rolls are spent, you got to go buy another die. You know, and then of course with Wizards of the Coast owning Dungeons and Dragons, they keep releasing new editions of the game. You know, which means you have to go out and buy the books again if you want to stay current on the editions. And back when I started playing in second edition, you could buy the Dungeon Master Guide or the Player's Guide for $14. Now they're $60 a piece, you know, but like I said, they're in this technological age, there are ways around that. I don't advocate to it, but there are ways around it. Where Magic, you have to buy the cards. You can't not play the game, or you can't play the game with not buying the cards. So,
right.
Yeah. But they have Magic Arena now. And you can play Magic on there. Of course, it's digital, and I mean, it's on your computer. And it's nowhere near as fun as actually having the actual cards. But if somebody wanted to play Magic for free, that would be the way to about going about that. You know, you can play it on there for free. It's kind of like I don't know if you guys ever did anything with it, but it's kind of like an app on your phone where if you spend money in it, you can spend money. You don't have to play, but if you spend money, you're going to be ahead of the curve. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could buy starter packs and booster packs, or you could just win matches and I've played Arena, and I've played the previous digital Magic the Gatherings that were up too, and they were all the same. Like, you could grind for decent cards and randomly get decent cards, or you could buy booster packs, or you could spend real money and buy the cards you want to build the deck you want, which gives you a straight advantage in the beginning of the game. But if you stick it out and just play the game, you could eventually get what you want anyway. It's just a longer grind.
And the problem I have with Arena, which I don't know, I've never looked it up and seen if anybody else had an issue with this. And it's not really an issue, but I think that it looks at your deck and it pairs you against people that has similar decks or something. Like, I have like a deck that has all the colors in it.
Right.
And I would play people constantly that had decks similar to mine. And then I go switch my deck and play with a different one, and then I wouldn't be playing those people. So I ended up just not playing it after that because of that reason. Because I'm like, man, that's not how Magic works.
Right.
You're supposed to randomly pop up. It doesn't. I mean, you go to a tournament, they're not going to match you up against somebody. You just get that person and you play them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get matched up with them based off of your deck.
Well, then,
and I swear that's how it works.
Well, then again, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a very long time since I've done a Magic tournament, but like local tournaments at least, you don't get to use your deck anyway. 9 times out of 10, to make it fair, everybody got a random deck, and you played with whatever cards were in that.
It all depends on what kind of tournament you're playing in. Like standard, you bring your deck, but you have guidelines. You know, everything has to be, and all your cards have to be in standard format. You know, so we're talking like 5 sets that's come out. So like when a new set comes out and a set gets dropped out of standard, then you have a whole list of cards that you can't use anymore.
Right. And I remember there were some cards that have limitations. Like I remember back when I was playing it, Dakon Blackblade. If you're familiar with that card, you were only allowed one in the deck. You were only allowed one in the deck, where everything else you could have up to 3. Dakon, you could only have 1 because of how overpowered he could be. Yeah.
Well, you're allowed up to 4 cards of one single card. Like you said 3, but it's 4. And unless it's noted, there's a card that I think it's called Relentless Rat that you're allowed to have however many of them that you want in the deck.
Nice.
The card actually has to say it. You know.
See?
But stuff like that, they don't like stuff like that in tournaments, like standard play. They don't come out with stuff very often with it, like in newer cards. Now, I think that Rat actually come back, and I think it's in standard play now, to where you can have a Rat deck that's basically, it's just like a 1/1 Rat, and when you play it, every Rat on the field gets like +1/+1. So if you end up, and I think they cost like maybe 2 mana a piece, so you end up having 4 mana out there, then they build off 4 Rats, and they all play off of each other. And then you get all these big Rats. But they have so many different formats that you can play in Magic, and they do have one that's called Pauper now. And Pauper, it's just it's just commons. No, yeah, just commons. That's the only kind of cards you can use on it.
Right.
Yeah, the lower end cards. And what's happened is that they created this format where you can use basically any sets during Magic, since it's been out. And these cards that cost like 10 cents a piece, you can sit and make a deck. Well, when it started, you could sit and make a deck for like 10 or 15 bucks.
Right.
And it would be this really amazing deck going against other people. Well, what's happened is that it got popular, and now Pauper is expensive to play because all these cards that cost 10, 15 cents are now $2 or $3 a piece.
Right.
Because of this format. There's no way of getting around it. You're going to end up having to pay money to play this game. It's crazy.
But the nice thing about Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering is get your kids in, and comic book collecting is get your kids into it. Then they'll be too broke to ever get into drugs and alcohol.
True. That is very true. Very true. And then if they are not putting money into it, they're doing something wrong.
Right, exactly. Oh, man.
But as much as I hate to cut this one short, I think we're reaching the end of time here. We definitely went over, but I don't care. I was enjoying this.
Yeah, me too. It was a good conversation.
Well, before we end it, man, can you guys tell me a little bit more about Realm of the Mist and everything the billion podcasts you guys have going on? 'Cause I'm gonna tell you what, I'm impressed, man, because when you guys did it, you ran with it. You didn't hold any limitations.
All right, well, I guess like I said, with the story starting off, I started off with a podcast called Breaking the Fourth Wall, which is the one that I'm recording right now, and That was originally supposed to be my only podcast until John Tully contacted me and wanted to talk to me about how do I get into podcasting. I want to do a Star Wars show, War of the Stars. And I told him I would help him out with it. And when I told him that to help get his show launched, I felt to protect it, I would use Realm of the Mist Entertainment, which was something I had already owned the rights to because I used to be a musician. And I protected my music and all under Realm of the Mist Entertainment. So I already owned the rights to it. It was an easy enough umbrella company that I already owned the name and everything. So that's where Realm of the Mist was born. That wound up spawning a whole bunch of other shows from other people wanting to come in. And it's like, well, wait a minute. If you're doing a Star Wars show and breaking the fourth wall, maybe you could help me with this show and with this show. And all of a sudden we had shows like Talking Trek. We had shows like, oh my God, Adventures in Chronos. We had America's Pop Culture Magazine, Journal of the Jedi. We wound up partnering up with Star Wars Canon Library for a little bit. That unfortunately did not work its way through. But, I mean, essentially, Realm of the Mist became an umbrella corporation to help people not only promote their shows, but get their shows off the ground and out and heard to people. And even Breaking the Fourth Wall evolved itself from being a general pop culture show to becoming an interview show. And in turn, it launched another pop culture show called Realm of the Mist Podcast because Breaking the Fourth Wall went a different direction. So, and then in turn, we wound up launching Sounds Dicey, which became, you know, everything that was tabletop and video game oriented, just game oriented, which really it was launched by Realm of the Mist, but that's Ray's. That's all Ray stuff. So I mean,
how long has all this been going on?
We are celebrating our 3rd year anniversary.
All right, wow. That's a lot of work in 3 years.
That's it. And we try to make sure that we have something for everybody. I mean, Breaking the Fourth Wall is interviews. Pop Culture is Realm of the Mist Podcast. War of the Stars deals with Star Wars. After Hours is our comedy show where we're just, you know, as raunchy and silly as we could be, where we just, you know, the goal of the show is to make each other laugh, and hopefully everybody else laughs with it too. What fucking other show? Press A Gaming is talking about video games. Like, we have so many fucking shows, it's hard to say, but it's always, the idea is something for everybody. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
You can go to Realm of the Mist, and even if you never listened to a Breaking the Fourth Wall show, but you're a Star Wars fan, well, we got a show for you. You know, or you're a video game fan, we got a show for you. Oh, you're not really into podcasts, but you do dig video game Let's Plays, and you dig tabletop gaming? Okay, well, go to Sounds Dicey. We got that shit for you there. That's the whole premise behind it, is we want to make sure that there's content for everybody to enjoy. So yes, pay attention, guys. A Yarn podcast is coming soon.
Make a podcast about some guys learning to yarn.
There you go.
It has to be video. You have to have video.
Yes.
Yeah, but I feel like it would be very short-lived. It'd be like, knit 1, 2, oh, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done. Where's my beer?
Granny's cross-stitch corner. So have some old lady with a fucking switch just fucking, do it again! And all of us just in there like, yes, ma'am.
That's wrong! I showed you! Go back in the closet!
I wouldn't mind.
But yeah, I mean, we have shows like I forgot Venus's show. She's one of our podcasters. Unfortunately, it's been out on maternity leave at the moment. She just had a child, but she was running 2 shows called "It Had to Be Said with Venus," which was basically a rant show. Whatever you want to talk about and bitch about, she was willing to sit down and talk about. And then she also had a conspiracy theory show called Tinfoil Hat Society. So, you know, you want to talk about like aliens, like the Area 51 fiasco would have been perfect for tinfoil. But like I said, she's been out on maternity leave. She will eventually be coming back.
Of course that would have happened then.
Of course,
right?
Yeah. She goes out to pop out a kid. Everybody wants to storm Area 51. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, again, just something for everybody.
All right. Where can people find you at?
Just look up Realm of the Mist Entertainment on YouTube, on Anchor.fm, or, you know, Apple Podcasts, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. And, of course, you can also look up Sounds Dicey for the exact same reason.
Yep.
All right. And I actually have the Days of Comics Past. It is Days of Comics Past podcast.com. You can check us out there. It's it'll lead you to all the links that we have the podcast on. And I actually, the Muse Chasers, I have not. I got a Facebook page set up for Muse Chasers, but it is. I've had some issues going along with it, and it's coming. But it was. I've hit a couple bumps in the road with it. So.
Well, if you ever need any help, let us know.
That's it.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Or if you even want just promotion, like I've done this for other guys, like think did a break in WPS podcast. Record me a commercial. I'll play it on their shows.
Okay, and most definitely, and vice versa, man. If you guys have anything that you want to advertise, man, most definitely would do it for you guys. Most definitely.
Absolutely, and of course,
like you said before, it's a community, man.
That's it. You know, one succeeds, we all succeed. Which leads me to the next point I want to say is, you know, of course, for our end of the recording here, because for people that are listening, this is going to be heard not only on Realm of the Mist Entertainment under Breaking the Fourth Wall, but this is also going to be heard, you know, on Mike's podcast as well under his. So this is a general podcast right now that's going on 2 different platforms. So when I say this, I'm speaking for the Realm of the Mist side. Dude, you are welcome back more than any time. Not only on Breaking the Fourth Wall, but any of the shows. If you want to sit down and be a part of the panel of War of the Stars or something, just let us know, and we'll more than happily have you on.
Oh man, I'd love that, man. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the offer, man. I'd love to hop on some Star Wars stuff, man.
Or if you ever want to learn, or if you want to learn how to play D&D.
Man, that would probably be a great episode to bring the guy that knows absolutely nothing on there and try to teach him some stuff.
Well, no, we can't have a guy that does nothing. We already have Billy Knowles.
Oh,
no.
Damn!
Shade at the Bard. But guys, listening on the Breaking the Fourth Wall end of it, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it out, and leave a comment or follow on Anchor. And of course, guys, very much go to our Patreon page. $1 a month, you get exclusive content from Realm of the Mist Entertainment, and you help keep this show on the air so that way we can bring you all this great, wonderful content to you each and every week. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Ray, you want to add anything to that before I end our end?
No, just Mike, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to all of our listeners. You know, without them, we wouldn't be doing this.
Awesome.
And it just, hey, if you guys want to check me out, and my buddy that absolutely hates me, but he does a podcast with me anyways, check out Days of Comics Past podcast.com, and we're on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, where, you know, all those good places that Spotify, where you can find podcasts. We're there waiting on you.
Or just download the app Podcast Addict. You can find them there.
Yeah, Podcast Addict, man. I'm telling you, that is an amazing app. I love it.
That's where I listen to most of my apps too, or my podcasts. I won't lie, I use Podcast Addict.
Yeah, I mean, great app. And people, it blows my mind when people are like, "Hey, where do you listen to podcasts at?" It's so many people listening to it, but people I encounter on a daily basis don't really listen to podcasts. At least where I'm at in Virginia. it's a whole lot of people around here that just do not listen to them. It's kind of trippy to me.
Right.
Because, I mean, somebody's listening to it, yeah.
Hey, you know what? I mean, the greatest thing about podcasting is it goes so far beyond your neighborhood. Like, we have listeners in fucking New Zealand.
Yeah.
I've never once stepped foot in New Zealand, but we got listeners in New Zealand and fucking Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, because I cannot remember where it was at. Oh, there's somebody that listens to our show in Ireland, and they consistently download, and it's one person. It is one person. And what trips me out is I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but why, or girl, or whoever, why has this person not reached out to us at some point in time? Because I'm like, the amount of episodes we have is that many downloads in Ireland from this one person. And it's like almost like as soon as we post one, it may take like a week or two, but they'll finally download it. And I'm like, well, I don't know who you are, but I would like to talk to you.
Right.
There you go. That's it. I would love to talk to somebody outside of the United States. Like we have one consistent listener who's actually from Wales, and I'll call him out by name because he's actually given us our spoiler. I had him record a spoiler for us that I haven't used in quite a while, but when we used to talk spoiler talk for movies, I'd have it pop up on the video, and it was him saying, "Oh, you fucking cunt, we have ourselves a fucking spoiler," in his Welsh accent, which is just fucking awesome. But he's a buddy of mine, Richard J. And I mean, yeah, I would love to talk to some more people that listen to us outside of the continental United States, because I would just love to know the appeal. Hear why they chose us, which I'm grateful and thankful. But
yeah,
we're silly Americans. What even brought you even to want to hear what we have to say?
It may be for the comedy. It very well may be.
Right.
These dumbasses. They think they know something.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's an invitation to you guys.
and I just want to say this real quick, because I didn't say it earlier. And I know we're trying to end the show off, but I'm having fun talking to you guys. I'll tell you that podcasting, once you get into it, it creates these avenues that you would never have had without podcasting. Just like you made contact with this guy in Wales, and now you guys are friends. Mm-hmm. You would have never had that. I've actually had a table at a Comic-Con where I promoted. Me and my co-host promoted our podcast. I would have never had that. And I've done work with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'm not that guy. I'm not this guy that's going to volunteer my time. But because podcasting happened for me, I was able to work it out to where I was able to help them. And it just creates all these avenues, man. I've actually, me, my buddy, and another podcast that's a local podcast of our little town, actually went and held a panel at a Comic-Con. And this stuff like that, man, I would have never had a chance to do anything like that if it had not been for podcasting. It creates all these avenues, man.
Breaking the Fourth Wall did a live feed on a internet radio program from a comic book store here in Pennsylvania. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. I never once thought I'd be sitting in a comic book shop broadcasting worldwide on an internet radio station talking about movies and comic books. Nobody wants to listen to my dumb ass. Yeah.
and I'll tell you, like, probably the coolest thing that I was able to do when I linked up with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. What I did is that we had a table at this Comic-Con, and we were promoting our podcast, and we were also, talking about, that organization and everything they did. And this lady that I got hooked up with, she was really, I'm not going to say strict, but she wanted me to know everything I could find out about what they had going on. and she gave me all this information, and I read through it, and I memorized a whole lot of it, and she had me come back, and she literally was like, okay, so if somebody walks up to you, what do you say to them? And I was like, all right, this is what I would say. And she put me through the ringer on this and wanted to make sure I was going to be this, great rep for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I passed the mustard. I did okay. And she showed up and everything too, man. She was awesome through the whole process. And we raised, I want to say it was $300 or $400 that day for them. And it was probably a week or two before. I kept saying, like, we need to make like a video to advertise it, try to get people to come out, make sure they know we're there, tell my co-host. And I was like, man, I really want to make something that kind of pops. I can't figure nothing out. I guess we'll just do a regular video. And then this guy that I've seen, watching on TV and everything, he actually posted this long post about mental illness and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Shit, I'm going to send him a message on Facebook to see if he replies back. So I sent him a message, and he replied back, and I asked him would he do a video for us and introduce us, or that we were going to be at Comic-Con. And he messaged back. He's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I've seen that you're on Cameo. I can pay through Cameo and let you do it that way. He's like, no, dude. No, with your calls and everything you're doing, I'll send you the video on here. Don't worry about it. And it was Michael Zapsik from Comic Book Men.
Nice.
And if it had not been for podcasting, I would have never got to talk to this dude. I would have never been able to help this organization out that means a lot to me, their calls. And I would have never been able to hold a table at a Comic-Con. So it opens up so many avenues now. I mean, I just cannot talk more highly about podcasting.
See, now you make me feel bad because, I mean, the most I've never been approached by the National Suicide Prevention Society or whatever.
Well, no, I went to them.
Okay.
With that.
The only thing I did was put out for support. After, I think it was like right after I want to say either Chris Cornell or Chester Pennington, because both of them happened like one right after another. So I can't remember which one it was, but right afterwards in our descriptions is always help is their National Suicide Prevention Hotline with the 800 number, like that. In some small way, I'm trying to do it, but I mean, you really went above and beyond.
And I'll tell you something I feel really strongly about that you may want to put in that description is they have a number you can text. They have a number you can text, and they have reps that it may take them a couple minutes to text back, but they have reps that will text back and will talk to you. And to me, in this day of age, people text.
Right.
It's a lot easier for somebody to text somebody and say, man, I feel this way right now. I need someone to talk to, than it is for somebody to actually talk to them over the phone. It's not as personal. And I really try to push that, man, because I think it's 7575, something like that. I can't remember right now. But I would put that in that description as well, man, because it's just kids nowadays text.
Well, I was gonna say, especially because of having you on the show, I want to make sure people can get to you and your show and everything else. Anyway, I was gonna have you. You're in message with Ray, who unfortunately his mic had died, so we've already lost him. But you're in Facebook Messenger with Ray. Send him the links to your stuff so that way I can add it to the description. Send me that text.
Okay.
Send him that text. That text information too. I'll make sure that goes in the description. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't include that into any of my podcasts and stuff, and that's something I'm going to do with Muse Chasers. I'm going to put that in there somewhere. I think I'm going to do it at the intro. I'm going to I want it vocally heard, man, because there's somebody that needs to hear it, and I actually reached out to the same lady that they have a walk here in Virginia, in Danville, Virginia, where I live at. They have a walk every year, and last year I missed out on it, but this year I'm going to try to incorporate podcasting into it. Obviously, people are walking, but I think what I want to do is I want to set up a tent and have people come and sit with me and tell me their stories.
That'd be
and
cool.
The reason why they're there, because people need to hear that too. And the thing about the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is that it doesn't just support people that are going through that. It supports people that have had people that died. There's so many people that have had lost people, and they reach out to a foundation like that for comfort. They have I can't remember all these days now, but there's a day of the year that's called Survivors. I think it's called Survivors Day. And part of that represents people that are survivors of people that they lost. Hey, I survived without somebody.
Right.
And they do so much good work, man. They do. And really the thing that stuck out to me about over all that was just that text, man, that you can text somebody. Because I can only imagine being some teenager that just, I feel down and out. It's something I can't talk to my mom or dad about. I really feel a certain way, but I really have nobody I can reach out to. I'm a dad. Sometimes you look over stuff, and that's a way for a kid to be able to reach out. They don't have to speak to them. They can just text.
Right.
And I try my best to push that, man, because I think that's something that, and like I said, man, there's reps 24/7 sitting there waiting to respond to people.
Right.
So it's a great organization, man. I'll most definitely I'll send that number, because I literally have it on my refrigerator. When I get done with this, I will text it to him, or so he has it. See, if you guys want to use that in your description, man, use it.
Oh, I'm absolutely going to put it in not only this video, but every video henceforward, man, because I've even stated it once that happened, besides the suicide hotline. I've made it abundantly clear, like, if you want somebody to talk to and you can't talk to a mom and dad or something like that, like maybe a perfect stranger, you know what? Contact Realm of the Myths Entertainment at gmail.com. Talk to us. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, most definitely, man, because I'm going to tell you, I fight with depression a lot, man, and I've lost 2 friends to suicide. It's not fun. None of it's fun. And there's help out there, and they didn't know that. And there's signs. They have a list of things that will tell you, like, maybe this person in your life is not feeling right. Maybe they're dealing with depression, not telling you anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's simple signs, like just somebody not wanting to do anything. You might have somebody that goes, like a kid or even an adult. We'll just say an adult that goes to work every day, has no issues at work, goes to work, does a job just fine, comes home, but all they want to do is just lay around. They don't want to do anything. And that is a sign of somebody dealing with depression. And a lot of people just think, like, oh, they're just lazy, they don't want to do nothing. But that's a sign that they possibly, well, I mean, obviously they could possibly just be fucking lazy, but that's a sign of depression, is somebody just not wanting to do anything. They don't want to go out. They don't want to do, anything other than just laying around and maybe watching TV. It's little things like that that people don't realize or don't know about. And American Foundation for Suicide, man, they put all that information out, man. You can find it all. And they have scientists that back all this, that's done the research. And when you donate money to them, it helps all this goodness that they do. So I try to donate some money each year to it, because if people don't, you don't have that number to call or text.
Well, I think it's a perfect way. I think it's a perfect way to end the show. Is what you're talking about is absolutely right. Is at the end of the day, whether it's the suicide hotlines or the texts, or you go to a priest or your local church or synagogue or mosque, or you talk to your family members, or you just contact some random stranger, be it at a bar or even emailing a nobody podcast, there's always going to be somebody willing to listen, man. You are not alone.
Exactly. And thank you so much for this, from both you guys, even though we lost one. But that sounded fucked up, even though we lost one of the other guys on the podcast. He's not lost. His mic just got cut off.
Yeah, his mic died. He's still with us. And he'll listen to the rest of the show once it's up. So, but
yes, I'll most definitely I'll send Ray that information and everything. And thank you guys for having me on, man.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having us on your show as well. Hi to your listeners. Make sure you're checking us out, and we're definitely going to be checking out more of you. Guys, thank you very much for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on the next Breaking the Fourth Wall.